Hi there everyone, I am Mark Adrian Roque from Criminology 11. Today is a good day because today you will learn about the trait theories and especially to the biological and psychological trait theories. But before that, let us define what is biological, psychological perspectives and trait theories. Personality traits are influenced by both nature or genetic or biological factors or nurture or environmental factors. So now let's move on to the foundation of trait theories. So first, Cesare Lombroso. So Cesare Lombroso worked on the word criminal identified the primitive atavistic anomalies that he believed were the direct cause of crime. So next, Rafael Garofalo. So, Rafael Garofalo shared the belief that certain physical characteristics indicate a criminal nature. A lower degree of sensitivity to physical pain seems to be demonstrated by the readiness with which prisoners submit to the operation of tattoo. So next, Enrico Ferri. So Enrico Ferri added a social dimension to Lombroso's work and argued that criminals should not be held personally or morally responsible for their actions because persons outside their control cause criminality. So now, let's go to our main topic. First, biosocial trait theory or biosocial theory. So, biosocial theory, physical, environmental, and social conditions work in concert to produce human behavior and focus on biological human conditions that control human behavior. In short, because of our social, our personal characteristics and our environmental, we may cause criminal act. Biological test theories or biosocial theory has a 5 parts. First, biochemical conditions and crime. Second, neuropsychological conditions and crime. Third, arousal theory. Fourth, genetics and crime. And lastly, evolutionary theory. So first part is the biochemical conditions and crime. So biochemical conditions including both those that are genetically predetermined and those acquired through diet and environment control and influence antisocial behavior. So, the major premise of the theory is that crime, especially violence, is a function of diet, vitamin intake, hormonal imbalance, or food allergy. Effects of the theory are that it explains irrational violence, it shows how the environment interacts with personal traits to influence behavior. The research focuses of the theory are diet, hormones, enzymes, environmental contaminants, and lead intake. The major premise of the theory is that criminals and delinquents often suffer brain impairment as measured by the EEG, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and minimal brain dysfunction are related to antisocial behavior. The effects of the theory are that it explains irrational violence, it shows how the environment interacts with personal traits to influence behavior. The researchers focuses of the theory are the ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, brain injuries, and brain chemistry. The third part is that genetic and crime. So the major premise of the theory is that criminal traits and predispositions are inherited. The criminality of parents can predict the delinquency of children. The strength of the theory are that it explains why only a small percentage of youth in a high crime areas become chronic offenders. The research focuses of the theory are twin behavior, sibling behavior, and parent-child similarities. The fourth part is that evolutionary. The major premise of that theory is that as a human race evolved, traits and characteristics have become ingrained. Some of these traits make people aggressive and predisposed to commit crime. The strength of the theory are that it explains high violence rates and aggregate gender differences in that crime rate. The research focuses of the theory are gender differences and understanding human aggression. The last part of the trait theory is the psychological trait theory. So psychological theories says that criminal behavior is a result of individual differences in thinking process. Part of psychological trait theory is the psychodynamic theory. So, the major premise of that theory is that the development of the unconsciousness personality early in childhood influences behavior for the rest of the person's life. Criminals have weak egos and damaged personalities. The strength of the theory are that it explains the one set of crime and why crime and drug abuse cut across class lines. The research focuses of the theory are on mental disorders, personality development, and unconscious motivations and drives. The second part of the psychological trait theory is the behavioral theory. So, the major premise of that theory is that the people commit crime when they model their behavior after others they see being rewarded for similar acts. Behavior is reinforced by rewards and extinguished by punishment. Of the theory is that it explains the role of significance others in the crime process. It shows how the media can influence crime and violence. Focuses of the theory is that are the media and the violence as well as effects of child abuse. The last but not the least part of the psychological trait theory is that cognitive theory. So, cognitive theory, the major premise of that theory is that the individual reasoning process influence behavior. Reasoning is the influence by the way people perceive their environment. The strength of that theory is that it shows why criminal behavior patterns change over time as people mature and develop their reasoning power. It may explain the aging out process. The research focuses of that theory are perception and cognition. And that's all for now. Hope you enjoy and learn something about this video. See you next time. Goodbye.